Gently open your eyes. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine. On behalf of Sky Yoga Online English Meditation Group, I am Bharati, welcoming you all once again to today's special discourse. Week after week, we are enjoying Vethathirium speeches from different professors. Today also, we are going to enjoy one such nice speech. The speaker is Arvind Shankar from Canada. Before handing over the mic to Arvind Shankar, I will just tell you a few words about him. Arvind Shankar is going to talk on the topic Vedanta and Vedanta. We all know India is known for its spirituality. But in olden days, all the spiritual matters were in Sanskrit, a language which many of us do not know. With the result, we were unable to understand spirituality in a deep level. And our quest to know who is God and who am I were all left undelivered. It is during 20th century, our Guru Vethathiri Maharishi has brought a simplified form. Through his Simplified Kundalini Yoga, he has given us an easy way to know who is God and where he resides, everything. And today, Arvind Shankar is going to speak on this topic. And Arvind Shankar is from Canada, and he has his graduation from USA, and he is a seasoned strategy and data analytics expert with a unique blend of Eastern and Western perspectives. Arvind's spiritual quest began at a young age with his initiation into the Vedas. He has been into our integral part, Sky Yoga, for the past 3 years. And he is able to understand in deep spirituality through Sky Yoga. One more interesting thing about him, he is very much interested in gardening. He spends his leisure time in gardening. We are having one such wonderful speaker today, Arvind Shankar. We are all very happy to invite you, Arvind Shankar, to our forum. Over to you, Arvind Shankar. Be blessed by the divine.
Be blessed by the divine. Happy to be here. And thank you for inviting me to this session. So today, I'm going to be talking about the topic as Madam introduced me, Vedanta and Vethathirium. Give me a second. Let me just share my screen.
Yes, you can.
I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, yes, sir. It is visible. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Open வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். So, we'll start out with all of the philosophies, both Eastern and Western philosophies, always asks the individual to kind of contemplate on the question, who am I, right? And what is the purpose of this life? And we're going to explore this topic through two different lenses, the Vedanta philosophy and the Vethathirium philosophy, both of which we might be aware of it to a certain extent, and what we are trying to do, what I will be doing today in this session is to bridge the gap between these two, right? So, if you think about the Vedas, so the Eastern philosophy, we have the Vedas and the Vedanta. So Vedanta is explanation and of the Vedas. There is the Mahavakyas that is part of all the. So primarily there are four different Vedas. Everybody would know that. And there is Mahavakyas that or the supreme statements that is part of all the four Vedas. So it means one and the same thing, but it is just represented or explained in a different way. So the Rig Veda says consciousness is Brahman, and the Ayurveda says I am Brahman, right? And similarly, Samaveda says you are that, and Atharvana Veda says this self is Brahman. So although it might look like it might be different, it might mean different things, but in reality, all of it points to one and only thing, which is the eternal conscious, irreducible and omnipresent absolute being that all denotes to that one, which is you, right? Which is the self. And we'll explore what that self is in the upcoming slides. But before we do that, like I wanted to kind of try to go over this concept through a conversation that happens between Sage Brihu and Sage Varuna, who is his perceptor, right? This context happens in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad, it's one of the great Upanishads as a part of the Vedanta, Eastern Vedanta school of philosophy, and where this comes in the Brihuvalli chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, where this conversation happens between the student and his guru, where the student Brihu asks his guru, "Hey perceptor, hey guru, hey revered one, I wanted to know what is Brahman. Show me what is Brahman, or what is my true self," right? So for that, Sage Varuna retorts back to Brihu with a response saying that do penance, do tapas, do meditation to kind of know your true state, right? So what happens there from that point is, having received his instructions from his guru, Sage Brihu goes back and does meditation, tries to understand what his true self is, and then comes back to his guru and says, "Hey guru, I think the body which I am made of is actually me," right? So it's basically that this is what you see, what I see when somebody refer to me, they refer actually to the body, right? And that is the response he comes back, because this body is made up of all of molecules and it has It is made of, it's called Annamaya Kosha, right? Which means it is made of food, and food is the primordial aspect of our living, and without food, no living organism can live or breathe in this world. So food is the one that kind of sustains and kind of drives this entire universe. So food is me, or Anno Brahma, which means that food is Brahma, right? And for that, Sage Varuna doesn't explain a lot, but he says, is it really you? Is his body really you? Is it really the actual you? Or is it actually the Brahman that you are referring to? Do meditation, do further meditation. For that, because once is for Guru says that, that kind of puts in a question, because if you think about it in realistic sense, uh, what you say as you is unperceptible and never changing. But is when you say body is you, as is the body never changing, unperceptible? Not actually, right? So we are the same person who was a small kid, who was a baby, small kid, a teenager, was a middle-aged man, and then we will grow old and become an old person, right? But the body, but inside that, right, the feeling that you are that has remained the same. So what it means is the body has undergone so many transformations. However, the feeling that you are that same person has not changed, right? Even when you are a boy when you are a middle-aged person, or when you become an old person. So uh, since there is uh, 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 so the body cannot be you, because there is something that is going to undergoing transformation. And when you talk about you, and the feeling of you, the Brahman which is inside you, that it is imperceptible and never changing, right? So Maharishi Brihu goes back and again ponders on the question, comes back with the next stage, where he says, uh, okay, I have done some deep meditation, and then I don't think the body is actually me. I think the prana is actually me. What is prana, right? The prana is the vital life force within our body, right? So it is the energy. It is the yeah, the breath that controls our body, right? So inside this perceptible body, right? There is prana that kind of drives the body through our biochemicals, through various through breath, and through experiences that happen to it, right? There is outward experiences that we talked about, which is absorbed or experienced by the panchendriyas, which is the five senses that we have, and which is covered in the Annamaya Kosha, right? You see, you exist through your eyes. You can see you can see yourself. You can experience, you can touch yourself, you can feel yourself. You can smell yourself, and you can hear, right? So these indriyas exist. So that is you exist, but deep within that, there is also a set of pro, uh, processes or things that happen within your body, which is very subtle, right? Probably not visible to the naked eye. You can't see air, but you do breathe, right? So those type of actions and physiological process happen within you. And then he comes back and says, "Oh, Venerable Sir, I think the prana is the body. The prana is the actual me, right?" For that, Maharishi Varuna retorts back and says, "Are you really the prana? Has that remained constant?" So again, the same conversation happens. No, it does not remain constant, because you have spurts of high energy and low energy. You have so you feel thirsty, you feel hungry. So there are these different experiences that happen within your body. So that is constantly changing. So when you think, but you as an experience actually remain the same. Whether you are hungry or thirsty, you always feel it is you, right? So if that is the case, then in Eastern philosophy or Vedanta philosophy, we say the knower and the known cannot be the same. What does that mean, right? The person or the person who is actually doing an act and or the person who is actually seeing something and the object that is actually being seen cannot be one and the same, right? So considering that as as an axiom, right? You can just say yes. On that same lines, the prana is undergoing a lot of transformations. It's undergone a lot of transformations and all in my life, but I have remained constant, right? Uh, so then he goes back and says, go and do tapas, go and do meditation, right? Come back to me. Then the third level where he goes back and says, comes back and says, uh, uh, yes. Now, what is more subtler than even the prana, that exists deep inside, that actually points to the actual life, right? Then when most people will say, right, it is the thoughts, it is the emotion, which is the manomaya kosha, right, which is the mental sheath, right, uh, and which is the thoughts, emotions, the memories, and it is technically the personality. When somebody asks you, who are you? They don't refer generally to the body. They just refer to who you are as a personality. Hey, I like talking to that person. He makes me, he is a warm person. So it usually refers to the personality of that individual. And most of us will say like, hey, I would like to invite Arvind to the satsang because of his because I like talking to him, right? So it is kind of refers to the personalities. So then Bhrigu says, yes, I have found the real me. It is actually my mind. It is actually me, because most of you, when people refer to me, they are actually referring to my mind. They are referring to my thoughts and emotions. And Upanishads say, not so fast, right? He said, is thoughts actually the real you, right? Or is it something different, right? Uh, um, ponder deeper. Are you? Then the question asks, like, are you aware of your mind? Then the answer is yes, I am. Yes, if you are aware of something, then you cannot be that, right? So going back to it, saying, I am aware of my eyes, I am aware of my hands, I am aware of my legs. If you are aware of something, because I'm seeing that, right? So that means, what is that's seeing it, right? So then you cannot be the same. You cannot be. So if you are aware of your mind, you are aware of your thoughts, you are aware of your personality, you are aware of your dislikes and likes and dislikes, your ideas and feelings, right? So if you experience it, then you cannot be that, right? So then he asks again, right? Okay, to go back and ponder again, right? So go and do tapas. Then he goes back, then say Vijnanamaya, right? And then comes back with the answer saying, yes, I am not the body, I am not the prana, I am not the mind, I am the intellect that drives the mind. What is actually an intellect, right? So intellect is the level, is the understanding, is the sense that prevails. So if you think about it, mind and intellect are actually on the same plane. They operate on the same instrument. However, intellect is something more subtler than even the mind, where it says, I might have 100,000 thoughts in a day, but I don't I don't speak. Most of thoughts are irrelevant, in the sense like you might have the same repetitive thoughts during the entire day, but you you don't make sense of every day. You don't understand all of those thoughts, right? Intellect is the understanding component. So I understand this word. I understand a subject. I understand math, physics, right? So that is actually the real me, if you think of it. Then in again goes back, Varuna says, again goes back with the same question: are you aware of the intellect? Yes, I am aware of the intellect. What does it change continuously? Yes, it changes continuously. What do you mean by that? Right? That means I learned so many things in my life. I learned engineering. I pursued engineering. I learned so many life, and I unlearned those things as well. So it has not remained constant, right? So if something has remained constant, if and if it is something has not remained constant, and if you are aware of it, then you are actually not there, because you are aware that are aware of your understanding, right? So then but Bhrigu at that point is puzzled, like, what else can it be, right? Then Maharishi Varuna says, go deep inside the intellect and say, what exactly is, if intellect is not you, what else can it be? Then if I am not even the intellect, then what else it means, right? So that is where he further ponders and comes to the understanding that uh, this, inside the intellect there is a sheath of bliss, and which is the Anandamaya kosha, which is basically the layer of bliss, and which is, when you think about that, is actually the real me, right? And that is actually the true self, or the Brahman, right? And the bliss of Brahman. But then after that, Upanishads does not actually uh, say, go a little deeper than that, because there is this blissful state that you experience in that Anandamaya kosha, but it then further ponders us to us, saying, hey, are you actually the blissful state, right? So the question that comes up is, uh, when we go into sleep, when we go into a deep sleep state, not the dreaming state, go into deep sleep state, what exists in that state, right? So you don't, the body does not exist. Your prana does exist. Body exists, but you are not aware. You are not aware of your body. You are not aware of your prana. You are not aware of your mind. You are not aware of your intellect, but you are sleeping. You are in a rejuvenated state. When you come out of your sleep state, you say, hey, I felt very energized. I felt, but so there is something uh, that existed in that deep sleep state, that you experienced, uh, however, which is the bliss that you experience, which is that deep state of enjoyment that you experience, that is actually, Upanishad stops at this point and then says it is not, it doesn't give further explanation here, but where it says, it asks you to say, it again asks the question, you experience the bliss, what is that, right? And who is that experience received, right? So that is the concept, right? So basically, the Eastern philosophy Vedanta says we have 5 different sheets. We talked about the Annamaya kosha, which is the physical food, which is the sheet composed of food. Then we have the Pranamaya kosha, which is the sheath composed of the life force, the prana, that health, that energy. So if you give an example, you just say Annamaya Kosha, like I perceive, I have a physical hand. I can see that physically I have my hand, right? Pranamaya Kosha, I have the life force, the energy that helps me to lift my hand, right? And then there is the next sheath, which is the Manomaya Kosha, which is the sheath of mind. The thought that prompts me to lift my hand, right? I wanted the thought saying lift your hand, right? That is the Manomaya Kosha. So there is a layer that tells me to do that. And then it's Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha says, yes, I am, I am lifting my hand, not someone else's hand. So that is a level of understanding that is deeper than even the mind level. And then the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the bliss, which is like I experienced happiness lifting my hand, right? So might not be very relevant in this context, but there might be other cases why you might experience doing something, right? So that is the five sheets. So once you cover these five dimensions, or kosha is technically translated to sheath, and it is one when you think about it in a very subtler sense, it is when you say, oh, is it like different layers? It is not technically. It doesn't exist physically. It exists in five different dimensions. Body is a dimension. Prana is a different dimension. Mind is a different dimension, right? Vijnanamaya and the intellect is a different dimension. And then the state of deep rest or a deep sleep or that pure blissful state is in a different dimension. So one good example is that this Matryoshka doll kind of an analogy makes sense, right? So you have one over another. So as you open one after another, you experience, you have different experiences that you do. So that being said, what the Vethathirium philosophy says, we have a very, very similar perspective that Maharishi has actually put forth in front of us. That kind of deals with all the different aspects of these sheets, right? So the first level we talked about the physical body. We have the panchendriyas that is acting on that physical body, right? And then we have the energy body, which is where we have our Kundalini, which have our chakra points, which have the energy centers within the body that helps us kind of act and move in this world, right? And then the third, the subtler body, or something subtler than that, is technically the Manomaya Kosha. The mind body is when you close your eyes, when you start doing deeper meditation, then as you traverse the phases of as your mind becomes more calmer, you get into different states, and you reduce your cycles of your brain waves, and then you get into a deeper, calmer sense. So that is the plane in which your mind operates, right? When you're angry, when you are in the beta state, when you are pondering over a scientific problem, you're probably in the alpha state, or when you are in a deep state of meditation, when you are in a theta state, and when you are in a deep sleep, you are probably in the delta state, where you exist as a person, the self exists, but you don't realize, there is no awareness that you exist, but there is something else that exists, right? And then there is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the intuitive body, where you it operates on the mind plane, but at each of these different levels, you get different experiences, right? So when you're in the deep state, people have said there is Maharishi has said so many times, you can the act of blessing, right, is kind of an is kind of a healing technique, or and the other act where we do reinforcement, right? This is all a technique that we say that will kind of that will kind of illuminate itself in the Vijnanamaya Kosha level. And then there is this final level, which is the Anandamaya, which is the state of bliss, where you're not aware of any of the other four planes, but you are just aware of yourself as an existence, and that is something that is looking at that is aware of it, right? So if you just map it out, all of these different koshas and these planes of existence, you can also map it out to kind of your we call it the three shariras, right? So what does shariras mean? So the sharira is the body, but most of us are aware of just the one body that exists, right? The physical body that you see. But that is the level in which your Annamaya Kosha, or we call it the Stula Shariras, is the gross body that exists, right? Which you can, that Kosha, the sheath, resides in the Stula Sharira, the physical body, right? And then the next three koshas reside in something called the subtle body, or we call it the astral body, right? So which is something that you cannot see, but you can experience at different levels. So basically the energy kosha, which is the pranamaya kosha, and then the manomaya kosha, the mind body, and then the vijnanamaya kosha, the intellect sheath, right? All exist at the subtle body. We call it the sukshma sarira, which is more subtler than the physical body, but it exists as a body in a dimension. And then we finally have the karana sharira, which is the causal body that exists deep within us, which is where we experience the state of bliss, right? And this is basically the kosha. I think of it as a sheath, and and you have different these koshas operate on a plane of existence, right? So basically, Annamaya kosha is kind of the sheath that operates on the causal body, or the causal body. Similarly, Vijnanamaya Manomaya kosha operates on the subtle body, or the astral body, right? So this is kind of the framework we have between the koshas, and how we can map the koshas versus the bodies that we kind of talked about, right? And if you think about that, we can kind of understand this through a so what happens, right? What happens when you actually open all of these koshas, or the sheaths, right? Is the common perception is, when you open the final sheath, which is your Anandamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha, you can actually see the Brahman. But is Brahman actually that? It can be easily explained through the story of 10, right? So there was so what there is this there was this philosopher that existed almost 600 700 years ago, right? Where he explains the concept of Brahman and the koshas in a very simple framework, right? So which is an example, right? There were these 10 folks who tried to cross a river, and the river was flowing, and they were scared that one of us might drown. So they kind of tied when they were crossing, they tied each other to using a rope, right? And then they tried to cross the river. So they crossed the river bank, and then they came on the other side of the bank, and then they started counting everyone. And then what they were doing was, okay, we wanted to make sure that all 10 of us actually crossed. So then they started doing 1 2 3 4 5, and then like they started doing that, and then say 9. Okay, first person started counting, and then he counted 9 people. And then he started saying, "Oh, one of us is actually drowned, because there only when we started, we had we had 10 people, but after we crossed the river bank, we only had 9 folks here. So one of us drowned. So so he was perturbed. Then the next guy comes in and says, "Hey, you don't know math. Let me do a better way of counting. You probably didn't count properly." Then the second person does the same thing, and then he realized, okay, there are only 9 folks of 9 folks, and then third and fourth and fifth, and every person does the same thing, and what they come up is, and then they realize, and then they all started crying, right? One of us is lost, and they don't know which one is the person who got actually drowned. So there was this wise person who actually crossed by that area and saw these folks crying, right? And then he was like, "Hey," and he didn't know, and hey, folks, hey, why are you actually crying? And then they explained the problem. They said, like, "Hey, sir, we were 10 people who actually were wanted to cross the river. We were 10 when on the other side of the river bank. We crossed the river. Now we are only 9 folks. We actually don't know who actually is drowned, right?" And then a wise person kind of counted everybody, and then he understood what their problem is, right? So the problem is they all counted others, but they didn't count them, right? So that is the mistake that they made. So and then he kind of, the story goes on where he tries to clarify and says, and he asked the first person to say, "Count this 10," and then when he finishes 9, he points, he takes his finger and points back to him and says, 10, right? So now that person is relieved that all 10 is actually there. But then the next problem starts, and he says, who is actually the 10th person? Right. So the Upanishad, the author further goes on to say, right, that is what that is what everybody is doing, right? So what everybody is doing is, it is when you talk about Brahman, we think about think about it as an object that is outside us. That is we think about it first as an object, and we don't understand the object that exists outside us. But technically speaking, I think it is not first an object. It is the subject. In this case, story of the 10, right? The 10 of kindness, it is not an object, it is the subject. And it is, and then it goes on to say, right? It is not, you talk about, when you talk about as an object, it's like when you open all of these koshas, you think that you will know something that you have not known all this life, right? The realization people talk about it is like, you had knowledge all this life about something, and you have the known aspect of it. I know how to read, I know how to write, I know how to cook certain dishes, I don't know how to cook these are the dishes. You have this knowledge. When you open this kosha, then you will get to know the one, but it is not actually that, right? It is actually the knower who is more important here than actually the known, right? When so in this act of self exploration, or the self realization, the one that needs to be concentrated, there is in every, when you open every sheath, the one that keeps happening is, yes, you there is this constant feeling of where it says, I exist, but there is something. When you open each of these sheets, you will have a different experience, but there is something that is watching that experience, right? Even if there is an awareness, there's something that's watching that experience, that is actually the I, or the true self, right? So this is in technical terms, that is what Maharishi also uh, uh, tries to ponder over, or tries to point to, through this, through his words, as well as I'm just trying to draw some parallels here between what the Eastern Vedantic philosophy says and what Maharishi has kind of put forward, right? So we talk about, we talk about, when we have open all of these koshas, there is this existence that happens, which is pure, subtle, consciousness, blissful, right? And Maharishi says this is in what is beyond this akash, right? So he says Akash has existed, Akash is pure space, and there is this, this pure space is truth, or the static state is actually, we call it the God, right? And if you think about the Vedantic philosophy also says that exists, it is actually is actually the God, or the white, or the supreme state, right? That kind of drives all of us, right? That kind of drives that exists even in deep state, that exists even when you are actually in a waking state as well, right? So I will probably kind of the kind of draw some analogies here. So when one of our uh, uh, in a lot of our meditation techniques, as well as our practices, we talk about the Shiva Kalam and the Shakti Kalam, right? So where uh, where we say the Shiva Kalam as kind of the static energy, or the potential, or the potential energy, the unmoving, unbridled state, and the Shakti Kalam as the energy field, or the kinetic, right? So this has a very similar, I would say, an example that you have, that is a similar uh, aspect on the Eastern philosophy, where in Saundarya Lahari, the first phrase of Saundarya Lahari says Shiva Shakti Ayukto, which is what is there. If you think about, this is the Sri Chakra for people who have not seen this. This is actually the Sri Chakra, which actually states the divine union between the potential energy and the kinetic energy, right? And one cannot exist without the other. In If you have to translate that to some of the concept that I mentioned, the self is actually the Shivakalam, or the potential, I think, and the energy, which is the Kundalini energy that we have in everybody's body, is actually the Shakti. Only when the Shiva and the Shakti merge, one can attain self-realization, which is kind of expressed in a very subtle fashion through the first for the Saundarya Lahari as well, and through a lot of our Maharishi's teachings as well. So now let's translate. There's so much concepts, but let's translate that to kind of our Sky Yoga practices, right? Based on the kosha model. So if you think about it, we have a lot of practices and techniques Maharishi has given us for each of these layers, right? Think about it, for Annamaya kosha, the physical, we have our physical exercises and Kayakalpa. And then that helps us to kind of make our body healthy, right? That helps to keep our body healthy. And then we have the pranamaya kosha, this energy layer. We have our various breathing and clearance practices. We have the nadi shuddhi, tandavala shuddhi. We have the spinal cord clearance, the neuromuscular breathing techniques, the kapalabhati, the different techniques that Maharishi has prescribed. And then as we go deeper into realizing more subtler sense, we get into the manomaya kosha layer, which is the mental layer. That is where the meditation comes in, where we have different types of meditation that we do as a part of our practices, which unlocks different aspects, and which helps us realize and move across different planes of our existence. And then we have the Vijnanamaya kosha, which is kind of techniques like introspection, right? We have lamp gazing, mirror gazing techniques, which kind of helps us to connect with our with the biomagnetism, with the universal magnetism. And then we have the Anandamaya kosha, which is the blissful state, or the divine state, where we have the divine state realization, divine realization with the meditation techniques, Nityananda meditation, where we tries to portray ourselves as everything in this universe, and which is which is kind of the ultimate purpose of our life and the ultimate state that everybody needs to aim to achieve. So that's so that is so those are different. So this is kind of that sums up my lecture talk this morning. And kind of tries to connect. So I've tried my effort in trying to connect the Eastern philosophy with the Vethathirium school of learning, and tries to draw some parallels with the best of my understanding. I want to conclude by saying this, that only when we try to open all the different layers or koshas, and Maharishi has given us a plethora of not just techniques and practices, but resources for us to tap into in order for us to kind of realize our true self. So,
Thank you very much, Arvind Shankar. That was indeed an excellent speech. And you very nicely and also simply expressed the connection and also the difference between Vedanta philosophy and Vethathirium philosophy. That is the difference, the main difference between Vedanta philosophy and Vethathirium philosophy is this Vethathirium philosophy helps even a layman to understand who am I. Yes. And also you just told about this Daitya Upanishad, where Varuna tells his disciple Bhrigu, and that is Bhrigu asking his questions and he clarifying it. That is about this koshas and all, how the 5 koshas, whether who am I, the answer you're given through these koshas, say whether it is body or mind or energy or what, something else, intellect, wisdom, it is consciousness, that is me. And very nice it is indeed. And also you are quoted about this Saundara Lahari, Siva Saktya Yukto, that is Siva and Shakti's union. And also you explained, that is you just combined, that is I can say, that is you compared, that is Annamaya Kosa to this, saying that Annamaya Kosa is that simplified physical exercises. It gives strength to our body, and then this meditation it gives to mind, and also introspection to say Vijnanamaya and then Anandamaya, that is doing meditation, deeper meditation, Nityananda, Duryadita and all. This helps to enjoy the bliss. Thank you very much, Arvind Shankar. We would like to see you in more meetings. It's nice. Dear friends, hope you agree with me. And anybody having any questions? Yes, Karthik is there. Yes, Karthik. Karthik, are you there? And Suresh Palraj says he has a question. Karthik, can you unmute and speak? You are unable to unmute. Suresh Palraj, yes. Have you raised your hand, sir? I'm not seeing your name at all. Yes, sir. Can you now? Can you unmute now? Suresh Palraj? Are you able to unmute now? Suresh Palraj?
Yeah, be blessed by the divine. I could do it now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Thank
hear
you, Bharati Madam and Arvind Shankar. It was wonderfully explained. It's very, very intuitive concept to understand, and you explained it really well with the story, and also going through the Upanishads and connecting that to our sky system, Vethathirium. Beautifully explained. Thank you so much. You started the talk with the who am I and what is purpose of our life. Both are related, maybe or may not be. Who am I is understanding the Brahman, but what is the purpose of life? Maybe something that I was hoping to see. Of course, it's probably it's self-realization or achieving the full potential.
Yes.
So I was thinking, maybe you are going to connect it, but I do understand that, it's one and the same. So that's just a comment. Thank you so much. Be blessed by the divine.
Thank you. Yeah. So yes, purpose of your life is realizing your true self or understanding the consciousness is the true purpose of your life, right? So that is kind of the connect there.
Yes, that is well, once we understand who we are, that is, we are nothing but the consciousness. And we'll be following the twofold culture, isn't it? That's there. And Karthik, are you able to unmute now? No.
Yes, finally.
Okay, fine.
Why, Arvind? Thank you for bearing with me. I have a question regarding, in Upanishad, as you said, consciousness is finally boiling down to witness consciousness,
Mhm.
right? The faculty of observation, the ability to witness, the witness consciousness. How do you see or relate that with what Maharishi defined consciousness in terms of order of function?
So I want to make sure I understand your question clearly, Karthik. So witness consciousness, how do you relate that to Maharishi's order of what? Order of function.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this is how I think about this, right? This is very this is my understanding of that, right? So deep inside everybody, when everybody knows witness consciousness, so we are that, right? So when you talk about this is how I perceive this. We have based on Maharishi's concepts, when Maharishi talks about there is multiple steps to it, right? There is when Maharishi talks about the biomagnetism and the universal magnetism, right? So you have yourself, your consciousness, and then only when you connect that with the universal magnetism or the this is not technically rightfully answering the order of functions question, but I'll get there, right? It is you get the witness consciousness becomes all pervasive consciousness. That is what the Upanishads also says, right? Where you say you don't know you are the one and true state until you realize, until you traverse this until you traverse this. So when you talk about each of these koshas, right? There was a consciousness that existed uh, uh, even before the body existed, even before the mind existed, and it is still going to exist even after it exists. So that I would probably say there is a different concept in the Eastern philosophy called the law of karma tattva, right? So karma tattva states where the cause and effect theory Maharishi also says, right? The cause and effect says you are so and so, you are this way because of your past karmas. So if you did good deeds, you will enjoy the fruits of your good deeds. If you do bad deeds, if you do. So in a lot of times you will see that we don't technically enjoy the benefits or the repercussions of your good or bad deeds when we are in this body, right? So if you think about we are this in all of the 5 koshas, right? If you are this body, if you are this prana, if you are this intellect and all of this, then the layer that is experiencing this, right, it doesn't go through the entire experience, right? So which means to say that there should have been an existence even before this physical layer come into existence, and there will still be an existence that is after we are gone out of this body. So that is when the Vedanta philosophy says karma tattva, and Maharishi also says the cause and effect theory also says that you are the பதிவுகள், right? In Tamil we say this பதிவுகள். So it's basically that is centered in our in our Muladhara, in that space. It is all a part of who we were and who we are right now and who will be there. So who will be there in the future. But in all of these different states that is outside this body, outside this kosha, that what exists will still continue to exist, and that is that pure conscious state, right? And that is how I would relate, and I would think about this from when I had to compare this to Maharishi's teachings to what when I had to draw some parallels between that to the Eastern philosophy, right?
Got it. So you're basically saying that the act of experiencing,
yes,
is the connecting thread. Order of function, in essence, itself is cognition, experience, and discrimination. Hence, that key, which is the act of experiencing, is essentially the one which is connecting thread. Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, very nicely said. As Maharishi says, that there is in non-living things, it exists as order of function. And then when coming to living things, it is in cognition, experience, and discrimination. And in man with 6th sense, he is ready to get self-realization. This man who can, with the 6th sense, he will be able to realize self if only he follows the methods as envisaged in Veda or in Vethathirium. Thank you so much, sir. And anyone else having questions? Okay. It's time, Arvind. We will conclude now. Okay. Thank you very much, Arvind Shankar, for your excellent speech on Vedanta and Vethathirium. And thank you, dear participants, for your nice questions and Arvind's excellent answers. Thank you all. And I have some that is announcements. That is, we have foundation course twice monthly, 1st and 16th of every month starting, and then Kayakalpa Yoga, 2nd Sunday of every month. And we have meditation daily going on. That is morning 6 a.m. and evening 6:30 p.m. sharp. And also this is being followed by Thought for the Day from the book written by our Maharishi. And also we have simplified physical exercises and Kayakalpa Yoga that is being played in the morning session. And Kayakalpa Yoga, again, it is played in the evening session also. Please do join daily and enjoy the bliss. And again, we will meet next Saturday for another interesting speech by another interesting professor. Thank you all. Be blessed by the divine.